Welcome back to the channel. My name is Tronage, and today we're going to be talking about Quad Box for October 2020. I am super excited because this box, it's got some jingle to it, and I want to know what's inside. Want to know also? Well, then you're gonna have to stick around. Quad Box October 2020 in my hands. Let's dig into the Quad Box. So here's what we're going to be doing, because we just came off of having a freaking insane FPV crate with tons of value. So I'm very curious to see how did the Quad Box retaliate. If you missed that unboxing, you can check the link up in the corner there and go take a look. But today we're going to be looking at the Quad Box. So here's what we're going to be doing. I'm going to bring you all in close and we're going to unbox this together live and in person, giving you my genuine reactions to what I see inside the box. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do a cost analysis to see really how much value is in this box, what did it cost, how much did you pay, all that fun stuff, and see what kind of value we're getting out of this. And then we'll just talk about these items and just see, you know, give my general thoughts and stuff about just our community in general and how this is all playing out. Before we do any of that though, slam that subscribe button. While you're at it, hit that bell icon. It makes finding my videos a whole heck of a lot easier, helps support the channel, and it keeps you in the know when I post videos like this one. So if you like what you see, please go and do that. All right, so why don't you come on in, let's crack it open. And poof. Here it is. We got the lovely and wonderful Quad Box ready to be open for October. So we give it the flip. We do have a lot of freaking jingle jangles in there, and I want to know what that is. So we are cracking this open. We're breaking that seal. Seal has been broken. We give that flap a little pre-open. We put it back in position. We get this all set up. And then you got to ask yourself, can you handle it? I can. Wow, there is like a lot of stuff to be seen here, which I'm pretty excited about. But what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to go digging to find the little cheat sheet action, just so that I make sure I take that out first before I see anything else, because that's usually now on the bottom. So I'm going to go fishing that out first so we get that all taken care of. All right, so we do have the sticker sheet with a lot of interesting and cool stuff going on this. Very cool. The future begins now. Very important. But there's definitely some cool stickers on here. I'm digging that. All right, so we'll put that to the side. Next up, we got some props here. We got 3 packs, it looks like. I'm hoping. Yep, we got 3 packs of props. They are HQ 4.8 by 3.4 by 4s. So typically these are interesting. Let's take a look at these. Well, let me first give you the little tag here so you can see your words and stuff yourself. There you go. But typically when we get a 4-bladed prop, it's like a one-off deal. But these are 3 packs of 4-bladed props. So that is pretty nifty, and it actually gives an opportunity to really experiment and see if this is something that you would be into. So that is pretty cool. So we got 3 packs of those. Next up, let's go with this thing here. We have the XT30 to XT60 smoke stopper. What we got here, this is a smoke stopper. Very similar. This is the Tronage smoke stopper, by the way, with a little bulb, a little activation switch and stuff like that, but as a separate added bonus, as a security measure on my Tronage smoke stopper, I do put another little smoke stopper to, like, just in case that one fails, because you can never have too many smoke stoppers on the road as far as I'm concerned when you're testing. So this has basically electronics in there that if it detects a fault, it basically stops working. This looks like to be like the next level of that, where it's taking this version, actually I turned it this way so it matches up. It's taking this But then if you wanted to use it for XT30 connectors, which are the smaller ones, what they're doing is they just ran it this way. So instead of having to put an adapter on this side and an adapter on this side to do XT30, you can then just use your same smoke stopper and running it this way. Now you get the XT30 connectors, and it shows you on the back which way your power should be running through, so that you know which way to hook this up into your, connection between your battery and your quad. These are very important, and this is a very important tool to have, and it's cool now having a new version that also includes XT30 for those smaller, like 3-inch type builds. That's awesome. Next up, we have this shirt. So I'm gonna take a look at this shirt first, because I'm gonna save some of these goodies down here for later. Very, very interesting. I love the color scheme. I love that it's, gray on gray. This is a very heavy duty print on here. It is very clean. I got no complaints or issues looking over it. Everything looks sharp and good in my opinion. And again, going back to the sticker sheet, it's taking something from the sticker sheet and putting it on the shirt, which I seem to see being a more reoccurring theme. So to align these the same, it'd be kind of like this. It looks like this is like kind of this part. So that would be how that aligns to the shirt. And that is a very cool thing. So I'm digging the shirt. Next up, what was making all that ruckus? That's this. What is this? I don't know what this is. It's a whole bunch of like bars and connectors. So I am going to need a hint. They're all 3D printed connectors, I will say. Let's take a look at these together. But I'm a little bit at a loss, but I'm going to figure it out for you guys. So we got these bars, which feel to be carbon fiber. And we have these little 3D printed connectors. And I'm guessing the bars go into the connectors. Not very easily. Try this end. No. Okay. Not sure. Maybe I'll check the cheat sheet. Okay, so looking over at the cheat sheet, this is a drone? Apparently it's supposed to be something revolutionary. And my guess is that maybe it's like a frame. Let me just look at some more of these connectors here. Yeah, because there's like, I feel like I'm playing with like a kid's toy. Where, you have like I forget what it's called, but you got the sticks and it goes into like the wooden discs and you can make like structures with them. The only thing is that these sticks they don't go into these holes. So somewhere, if I'm doing this correctly and I'm taking a stick and it's supposed to go in these holes to build, I mean, I guess you want it really tight, but this is like, I don't know. I don't want to force anything because I don't know if that's even what I'm supposed to be doing. But I will research this. This is this has my curiosity piqued, I will tell you, because I don't know how this is a drone, but the cheat sheet says, bonus item, a Lynchpin drone kit. Learn more about it at terryslynchpins.com. So I'm gonna go learn more about this and we'll talk about it during the cost analysis portion to see really what is this that I have in my hand. And lastly, hiding here on the side, we have an HGLRC 30 amp by 4. It's a 4-in-1 ESC. As you can see here, pretty cool stuff. Comes with a low ESR capacitor, comes with a pigtail. Let's open this guy up. If I can figure out how to, oh, it just pops open. Not that difficult. So we have the HGLRC. Here's your top of their ESC, and then if you want to see the back of it or the bottom of it, there you go. Lots of good stuff going on there. We also had little couple spongy things for protection. Low ESR capacitor. We have a power pigtail. We have the connector pigtail to go to your flight controller. Little nylon standoffs. And that looks to be it, which is pretty much all you need for this. So that is a pretty cool thing. So there we go. So let's recap. We got a 30 amp 4-in-1 ESC. We have the mysterious Lynchpin drone. We have the smoke stopper. We have 3 sets of props. We have the t-shirt. and we have the sticker sheet. Let's run some numbers and see what this is, because I'm so curious about that freaking linchpin thing. All right, guys, I ran the numbers, and let me say it makes me very happy to see that Quadbox as well as FPV Crate have been looking like they're doing a little upswing in giving us some great value. So let's take a look. We'll go through this line by line, starting at the top and working our way down. So let's first talk about the HQ props. So I've said this once, I'll say it 1,000 times over. Getting props is awesome. You use props all the time, and unless you're really spectacular at flying, you probably will use up props quickly. It's the one consumable I would say that's in our hobby. Second probably is like, you know, everything's kind of a consumable. You break motors, you break ESCs, you break these things, you break frames. But I would say 9 times out of 10, if you're gonna break something, it's probably going to be your props. Also, getting these props gives you an opportunity to try different things. You know, 4-bladed props, people may be like, I'm not really into that, but now you got them, let me give them a shot and be like, it could change your life. Or you could be like, yeah, it's just not for me, and whatever, and you move on with life. So it's really cool getting props, especially HQ brands, one of my go-to brands. Next up, we have the XT30, XT60 smoke stopper, and let me tell you why smoke stoppers are important and where this actually comes into play. So here I have the Tronage branded smoke stopper, and basically it's, uses this light bulb as a way to draw the power with a little on-off switch so I can turn on and off the power easily. Works great for when you're trying to, bind a transmitter and you have to do 3 things at once. You have to hold the button down and plug something in or whatever. Here you can just, with the flip of a switch, turn your power on. But why a smoke stopper is important is because of when you first build your quad, you may have accidentally shorted something out. You may have put a little drip of solder somewhere you didn't want it to be. You may have something touching the carbon fiber that you didn't want touching carbon fiber. You may have forgotten to put a piece of heat shrink somewhere that you should have. And you think everything's all fine and dandy until you plug in the battery. And we've all probably had it where you plug in the battery thinking, I got no problem. You plug in that battery and then you see, and smoke comes out of it. From somewhere, usually maybe your flight controller, your ESC, somewhere smoke just goes, and you're like, oh crap. And that's where you had a problem. That's where items like a smoke stopper come into play. So what I have is I have my smoke stopper, and then in the past we received one of these little smoke stoppers that I showed earlier. The thing here is these are all XT60 sized smoke stoppers. I like to double them up because that way, I kind of have like a double failsafe. This one is actually super cool because now not only do we have XT60 like this one had, but it also has the XT30 connector. And that makes me very happy because, in all honesty, when I went to use my smoke stoppers for my 3-inch builds like the HGLRC XJB145 or the Arrow 3 or any of my other smaller builds that use the XT30 connector, I'd have to get different adapters to go from XT30 to XT60, then through the smoke stopper, and then from the smoke stopper back to XT30. And, I have those adapters, so for me it's not a big deal. But to try to have them all ready in case, like let's say you're at the field. Like when you're at home and you're doing a repair or something, you kind of have access to everything. When you're out in that field flying and you crash and you're like, all right, let me pull out my, my battery powered soldering iron. Let me pull out my, whatever, my battery powered hot glue gun to put my frame back together. The moment you start making repairs, you want to be able to check it. And that's the beauty of this, because now you don't have to worry about carrying adapters or anything. You have one piece, throw it in your gear bag, and now you have a smoke stopper for both XT60 and XT30, which I think is super important. This is the one, I would say, one of the more overlooked items in the world of our hobby, but it is super important. I cannot tell you how many times this thing has saved my bacon when I'm trying to cook something. I can't tell you how many times this guy has saved my bacon when I'm trying to put together one of my builds and I go to start it and, that light comes on. I know, turn everything off because something's not right. And then I'm in there trying to figure out what's going on. So it's really important and super cool that we got that. Next up, we have the t-shirt. And honestly, I think it's a great shirt. I love the dark colors. I love the gray on gray action. We have the Lynchpin you know, thing going on here, which now, you know, knowing what's going on, that's like the linchpin. And, you know, it's a really cool time and a cool place to be right now in our hobby because, you know, who knows where this is going to lead? Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows what the technology, what the research, what the engineers will create and where we'll be. You know, you look back when you were using, you know, not too long ago, using some of these older flight controllers and stuff, it was like you were like, wow, you can fly a straight line and not crash. You know, that's how it used to be. So who knows where it's going to go and where things are going to get developed to. So it's really cool having that on a shirt to sort of commemorate, you know, where the direction may go. I don't know if it's going to go that way, but it's kind of a cool thing. Next up, we have the HAK 4-in-1 ESC 30 amp. And I mean, in all honesty, it's an ESC. How do you go wrong with that? You need it. It's one of the staple items in your builds. I feel like the direction the hobby has been going lately is really the 4-in-1 ESC. The argument used to be, well, if you burn out one ESC, you kind of burn them all out. So it's better to have them separate on the arms. But then people would argue, but then being out on the arms, they're vulnerable to prop strike and stuff. And, you know, it's nicer to have everything all compact in your little stack in the middle. And I feel like the direction we're going now is a lot of 4-in-1. It's just a lot easier to deal with. You have everything in your center. Your wires run out to your motors and you're done. You don't have to worry about an ESC in the middle. And this is no exception. Another 4-in-1 ESC. I love that it came with the low ESR capacitor just to get rid of that, you know, noise that is on your lines. It just helps with everything. It helps your video feed look better. It just helps. And the fact that they gave you the battery leads and stuff. The only thing I do have to say with the battery leads, they are a little bit short in my opinion, but typically the battery leads that you'll get in an ESC, like if it's bundled along with, will probably have a shorter wire than if you were to make your own because, you know, they don't really know how much you need, so they're just throwing it in there as a little gimme. What's also nice is it did come with the nylon standoffs so that, you know, you could actually mount it in and not have to worry about trying to find those types of items. You know, I have a whole set of them, but some people may not, so it's nice having them included as well. And last up, we got the linchpin. So if you want to know how to put together this linchpin and how to get it all squared away and looking awesome like this, I did put together a little bit of a video. You can check the link up in the corner there, and it'll show you how to build this and some tips that I, you know, had to run into because it wasn't easy. As I showed you when I was first unboxing this a few moments ago, it wasn't easy to put that rod into that connector. It just wouldn't go. Like, it was not happening. So I have a couple of tips in that video how you can actually assemble this really easily and have it still be nice and strong and sturdy, but make it a lot easier to get these carbon fiber rods into these connectors. So go check out that video. But now, what is this? Like, what do you want to call this? Because this is the question mark item, and that's why it's also flagged in that orangey peachy color there in the cost analysis. So the reality is this is a frame. That's what this is. This is a frame that's like the building block for something that doesn't exist yet. Because there's a contest going on. The grand prize is $15,000 with a runner-up prize of like $10,000 for any engineer that can create a flying version of this. It can basically create the flight controller, supply the design for the flight controller, as well provide the source code for the software that runs it to them. You're creating the design and selling it to them, and you win if you win, is how it works, I guess. But the reality is this is a frame, you just can't really use it yet. But it's still definitely a cool thing to keep on your desk or, you know, just like a conversation piece, because I think it's fun to hold, it's fun to play with, and I think it's just a really cool thing. So now how do you put a price tag on this though? Well, here's what I did. All right, I looked up these are 5mm carbon fiber rods, and each one is about 4 inches long or about 100 millimeters long each. And there's 20 of them in this structure. So to buy the carbon, because this carbon fiber rod is very common in especially like the airplane hobby side of things. As well, there's a little bit of it in like more of like cinematic drone type stuff, not so much like what we do, but there is some of it around, and you can just go and buy this carbon fiber rod, 5mm length, And to buy this amount of carbon fiber costs $15.61 if you wanted to buy this amount of carbon fiber that's in here. So by just parts and not counting the 3D printed parts, I didn't assign them any value. I figured, you know, we'll just make them be part of the wash because we don't know what we're doing with this thing anyway. So just the carbon fiber here costs $15.61 if you went to go and buy it. So that's the value of this, at least as far as my opinion is concerned. Now, let's say, for example, though, you don't really care about this. You're not entranced by this. You're not fascinated by this as I am. You don't think that this is like revolutionary. You don't give two hoots of anything about this. But you kind of think, okay, well, it's kind of cool to just like have sitting as like a display piece. How much would you pay for this as just like a little kit display piece project that you're just going to put together and it's just a little display thing? How about $5.99? I just picked that number out of my butt, but I figured that that's kind of like, okay, I would pay $6 for just this, not anything aside from the fact of just buy it, put it together and have it sit there and be like, oh yeah, it's something cool to look at and, you know, be decoration or something. $6 I thought was kind of a good thing. So here's what the chart would look like if we called it $6 of just a gimme item that's like a little project, put it together. You spend like, you know, whatever time putting it together, you're fine. You can see now it brings our values down, obviously, but we're still above. Let me put this down for a moment. You can see we're at about $21, $22 there, and we're at about 30% over the cost of the box. But that's with this just being, you know, just Now that's not really the true value, because remember, a true value of items, I don't go by my feeling like, oh, even though it costs whatever to buy that, I don't really like it, so I'm just going to call it this price. So that's why this is just for reference to say, like, you know, even if you don't want to consider this being what it is, this box is still pretty damn good. But we'll go back here now to our original situation, which was the $15.61 worth of carbon fiber that I'm holding here in my hand, okay? So that's how much this costs in parts. And in reality, this is a frame. It's a frame that we can't use, but it's still a frame. And typically, frames have costs above the price of the carbon fiber. So when you buy a frame, you know, there's design costs and research and development costs and cutting costs and all these costs that get rolled into it. So when you buy a frame, that's why you don't have very many good, you know, $10, $15, $20 frames. There's a couple out there that are pretty decent, but that's why the better frames are much more expensive, because there's a lot of time and design that goes into it. And this is no different. So if you were to consider this to be a frame, then it would not be very unheard of to put a price tag on this of, who knows, maybe $20, $25, $30 as like a frame for a drone. But this, you know, you can't do anything with it yet. Who knows when you can, or if, or when, or who. So I know I'm spending a lot of time on this Lynchpin, but I do want to be very clear where I get my numbers from. And all the numbers I'm telling you are basically I'm just making up, except for the price of this carbon fiber. I found that online. It was the cheapest price that I could find to find 5mm rods, this quantity of it, that you would, you know, cut up into 4-inch sections. But it costs about $15 or $16 to buy these carbon rods. Material-wise, that's what we're looking at cost-wise. So that's the number I'm going to use in the evaluation and the analysis, because that's what this is. Regardless of whether you can use it or not, that's how much this costs if I wanted to buy the materials, not counting the connectors, obviously. So that's where my numbers come from. If you want to agree or disagree, please comment down below. Let me know your thoughts, but I think that's a fair and good way of at least assigning a price to this. With that being the case, as we come down here now, you see we're at $31.52 worth of value over the cost of the box, which is freaking insane. And if you look at the percentage there, we are at 39% over the cost of the box, which is a great value. Now, I know. This is a big deal, and some people are going to go, this is garbage, and throw it away, and some people are going to be fascinated with it as I am. So your mileage may vary with the way I'm doing this cost analysis. However, I try to be as honest and as fair and as transparent as possible, and I'm just going to call it by the cost of the materials. So with all that being said, now we're in a very special spot, because guess what? We have the FPV crate and we have the quad box. They're both in, they're both ready to go. So let's do some comparisons now. Now, looking over this list here, you can see if you compare to previous comparisons, not much has changed. Whoever's in green is still in green. Green just means you're the leader of that column. So for 2019, it's the same. Quadbox gave most value. Keep in mind, I'm trying to make everything as fair as possible, so that's why we are starting our comparisons on July, so that this way Quadbox didn't have any headsy starties over FPV crate. However, keep in mind, February of 2020, Quadbox didn't put out a box. So when you look at the year to date of the 2020, even though FPV crate is currently in the lead, that is because they have one extra box. So of course, if you put out one extra box, you're going to have extra value, because it's hard to play catch up if you didn't actually sell a box that month. So that's why then we did these averages that are down below, as well the percentages, because this way we can see how many boxes did we get for that amount and what the average is across the board. And as you can see, Quadbox is still in the lead, providing the most value on average based on every box we've received since FPV crate launched in July of 2019. As well, the percentages. Remember, when we're comparing Quadbox to FPV crate, their difference in price, and by $10 difference in price between the two of them. So that's a pretty big deal. So even though one may have less or more monetary value, you're also paying more for the FPV crate. So you really have to look at the percentages to really be able to compare them apples to apples. And you can see that Quadbox still historically, since, you know, both boxes have been going, that Quadbox has been putting out the more value per box, which is a pretty cool thing. Now, I will say, moving forward now, we do only have 2 more boxes for this year. We have the November box and we have the December box. That's it. And historically speaking, at least with Quadbox, the December box has always been spectacular, awesome, really good. Okay, so I don't know if that's the case. Don't get all excited because I said that now. That's just, I'm saying what it's been. As well, FPV crate's been pretty decent as we start getting to that holiday season. I will say that both boxes have been seeing a little bit of an upswing now. I was a little confused a couple months ago when you check my other videos, but I feel like we're truly now more of in an upswing. I feel like things are starting to pick up, and I feel like this is when we're going to start, you know, hitting our stride and really getting stuff done and getting a little bit more value like we've come to expect it out of these boxes, because that's really what's important to us, the consumers. Give us good stuff, give us good value, give us what we paid for, and don't rip us off. And I feel like we're definitely getting that now, and I don't see any reason why November or December won't be really good boxes for both of them. So if you're deciding to subscribe to either of these, please go into the description down below. There's affiliate links down there. They help support the channel. Please use those when you subscribe, and, you know, I'll catch you on the next one. So as always, my name's Tronage. Fly strong.